Welcome to Rawcast AD, episode 21. I'm your host, Doug Peterson, coming at you from central Wisconsin. And topic of discussion today is mostly going to be technology, both current and future. I got to sit down with my friend Spencer Huff, who has the blog bookbrain, which you can find on Facebook, Rawcast Facebook page. I like to post that every Friday, share his post. I really enjoy his blog. He likes to keep up on the technology news, both in terms of gadgets and what scientific research is going on right now. And so it was perfect to have him on to discuss technology, both current and future, what kind of research we're looking at, different industries such as healthcare. And so it was just an awesome time for me to sit down, let my mind wander on what the possibilities of our lifetime will serve in terms of technological advancements. And due to time constraints, we did not actually get to go as in-depth on certain topics as we wanted to, but we had a good enough time with this episode that we agreed this was going to be the first installment of quite a few technology discussions, because technology is ever-changing, it's moving so fast, and we're getting to a point where who knows what the future may hold in terms of technology unless you're following the research. And so we like to sit down and talk about technology, and it was high time that we did so on the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed the discussion with Spencer Huff talking about technology both today and future, what we can see for artificial intelligence in our lifetime, even going so far as space exploration and travel, both human and mechanical. So here it is, Spencer and I discuss technology. Hope you enjoy it. All right, hey man, good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. It's wonderful being here, man.
I bet it's kind of awkward, starting up this way as opposed to what you're used to, seeing as how I do the introductions recorded at a later time than the actual episode.
Dude, why are you revealing the wizard behind the curtain?
Well, because I want to be like that, who's that magician that wears the mask that's like, this is how it's done.
You mean that awesome asshole I remember watching as a kid?
Yeah, like he totally ruined it for me. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Dude, screw that. I love that show. I used to watch that show all the time as a kid.
But alas, we do not live in a world of magic. Instead, we're intrigued by a notion that we want to talk about today. I got a viewpoint from the cellular perspective, and, how fast technology is changing. Because, I used to run phones until they died.
Yeah.
And then when I was working at Verizon, I had 3 different phones over the course of 14 months. Mm-hmm. So, vanity, man.
Dude, I've had my phone forever. I've literally had this phone. I think I got it in like February of 2015.
Well, see, and I was the same way until I actually worked in the industry because the new tech was just so awesome. And, the Samsung Galaxy S8 was supposed to be a phone that kind of revolutionized how smartphones were supposed to look and operate, feel, all that goodness. But you look at the technology trends, how, phones were getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you had like the Sony Ericsson, which was almost like the SNL, tiny cell phone. And then it's apparently like, we discovered we could watch adult-rated videos on cell phones. So then the screens get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's a temporary thing. There are pivotal moments in technology. Technology moves so fast. And so we're here today to mainly talk about our theories of future tech.
Good segue.
Consumer tech, though. We're not really going to get into the military side, are we?
I want to talk about tech everywhere, man. I want to because I'm curious on your thoughts, and we have some articles here we kind of pulled just so we're not talking completely out of our asses all day.
No holds barred
on where tech's moving, because I read some interesting things, but with the phone, and we were just talking about this before we started the show, that I had just read that they're actually going to be creating phones, and they have these prototypes already made. Like, it's one of the things, like, it's still in the testing phase. It's not going to hit shelves yet, but essentially it's an implant that they inject into that like area of skin right between your thumb and forefinger, for those of you who can't see me. And it just acts like a regular telephone. Like, obviously, you can't text with your hand. That's stupid. But, when you want to talk into it, you're going to be all like Jared Leto from, Suicide Squad. You're just going to put your hand over your face, and you're just going to start talking into this phone that's, implanted into your hand.
I do want to say Jared Leto as Joker was god awful. I respect the guy, but
It was not my favorite.
it wasn't my Joker. We'll say that. But yeah, no, it's we're looking at there's a newer or not a newer company, but there's a company in Wisconsin actually that was looking at the option of having their employees get an RFID chip.
Was that one of those low jack chips?
Yeah, basically it. And so, I mean, yeah, you can track them, but where is the future tech in that? I mean, you've heard there's all these like conspiracy theories about the Antichrist where, you're going to have a tattoo and then people make the correlation between like having the brand and basically having a barcode tattoo for the future. So like your barcode is your identity.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of putting like chips and injecting. I don't think I would ever go for any of that crap.
No,
it makes me uncomfortable
very much.
Throughout this whole episode, please keep in mind, viewers, I do love technology and all that stuff. I think it's so freaking cool.
But we're not obsessed.
I'm not obsessed, and and a lot of it's like that's really neat. I'm scared now because I'm becoming older and afraid of new things. But no, I would never do any of those kind of injection. Like I think isn't there a thing like we can get like they want to get so you can put an injection in your arm and like it's hooked up to your credit card. So you just scan your arm and it like charges your card.
Well, like with how debit and credit cards have the chip now.
Oh, I hate the damn
which
thing.
Working in cellular, I noticed pretty quickly that those chips and those cards are nothing more than a SIM card.
Pretty much.
And so they're using like these SIM cards. Well, okay, if it's basically going off that SIM card, which has your, credit card information, your identity on it, it's not too far of a leap to take that out of the card and insert it into your wrist.
Well, yeah. I mean, part of the problem...
Imagine waving your hand over the cash register at Walmart.
I do that now. I just look at the cash register and just wave my hand. I'm like, I did pay for that. This is not the credit card you're looking for.
Well, Jedi mind tricks aside, man. Because you have Samsung Pay. It's like, what is the next logical step? Okay, we have a device or a smartphone that can do all kinds of things that make life easier, but then, of course, it can be a sand trap for your mental state. You end up scrolling for hours. But that, all of that stuff aside, the mental pitfalls of technology, it's all about the lightheartedness here, folks. And so basically, taking the SIM card out, putting it into your wrist, and then, you got to look for texting. Of course, they're going to probably have a bracelet. You've already seen prototypes for that kind of bracelet phone, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen something like that.
Where you like basically kind of twist your fist
around.
and
it creates a holographic like image on your arm, and then you just kind of type on your skin, and it registers it or something like that.
And see, that doesn't seem convenient to me. Like I'm just picturing Wisconsin in winter. We're wearing our coats. Like how the hell's that gonna work?
Not well.
Your arm's gonna have to freeze all winter.
Yeah, there's a lot of technology like that, and like I can get you can. But I don't see why you should. It doesn't necessarily make it better. It makes it cooler, but it doesn't make it better. I'm trying to think. Like like with those like Google glasses. I'm like, I get the point of it. I just don't see why you should.
Well, see that it's like that Futurama episode where they had the iPhone, and so the way the iPhone works, and I mean they did a lot of good with that episode, even down to people coming in and being like, do you have any more iPhones left? And they're like, oh, we got a few in stock. And then it like pans right to where the production line is, and there are just millions of these things stacked up. But they end up having inserts where basically you get an injection, I think, in your ear and in your eye is what it was, I want to say. And how far away is it from the Google Glass to just end up being like a contact lens or something that you literally just set on your eye and vocally or verbally activate the screen, so then one of your eyes. But I mean, then again, people only have one eye. Maybe they're going to get a prosthetic eye that's actually a little computer. Imagine carrying that around in your socket, man.
And I can't remember which one it was. I had watched this a number of years ago, an anime show where they had something similar like that. And so the idea of augmented reality. So you wear like your normal clothes or whatever, but you wore just like plain clothes. Like you didn't really wear anything, unnatural, like fancy. You wouldn't go out and buy like a fancy outfit. You just wear like a jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But then through like it's like a visual marketplace, like it's augmented reality. So anyone who saw you wearing their augmented eyes like they're supposed to be wearing, like almost nobody doesn't have these on in the anime. Like they see you wearing like a fancy gown or like a Hawaiian shirt or whatever the fuck you feel like wearing that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you can change like how your hair appears to them and everything else because it's all augmented reality through this that you can like buy things for. And I think that there's people who saw stuff like that and they're like, that's where I want to take it. I'm like, no.
So you think like there's the possibility that the internet itself will actually become a virtual, almost augmented reality marketplace?
Oh, for sure.
Like imagine Black Friday shopping on Amazon's virtual warehouse.
Okay, we're getting into a place where I was hoping we'd get to. Have you read the book or heard of the movie coming out of Ready Player One?
No. Enlighten me, please.
Honestly, okay, so anyone listening, please, if you have not, I cannot for the life of me off the top of my head think of the author's name. But the book is called Ready Player One. They're making a movie adaptation directed by Steven Spielberg. And there's a trailer on YouTube right now. Go watch it, and when you're done, don't stop this podcast. Wait.
Well, you can pause it for a second, I guess.
But anyway, so the premise is it takes place in the future, and the entire world is gripped in World War. The economy is crap. There's no jobs. I mean, the health is going down. The pollution, economy, everything is just complete and utter shit. Like the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. It's like the decline of Rome, but for the entire planet. Like humanity's on its way out, basically. Is the future.
It's like go tribal or die.
Pretty much. It's not quite there, but it's the point where clearly society and everything is declining. The world,
it's in the middle of the crumble.
Yeah, everything's going downhill, and it's one of those things where no one's really trying to stop it.
Okay.
So that's kind of the backdrop of the book, and it follows this kid, and he lives in I think he lives in Ohio, and in a trailer park. Except the trailer parks in the future, like there's overpopulation. So instead of having, you have all your trailers nice in a row, like a normal trailer park, and they just go outward, they go up. So the trailers are surrounded, so you have like one trailer and it has a scaffolding. So you have trailers literally sandwiched, stacked on top of each other, like hundreds of feet high. And you have to go up, upstairs on the scaffolding to get to your trailer. Because there's no room to build out anymore. They have to build up. So you have these ghetto trailer parks going just,
I don't want to go on too much of a tangent with it, but suburban sprawl bothers me, man.
Yeah. So that. So he lives in one of these trailer parks.
Okay.
And in this world, they have a thing called the Oasis.
I mean, actually, suburban sprawl bothers me, but stacking trailers hundreds of stories high. Okay, maybe not. That's an extreme. That's like Wayside School or whatever it was.
Right. But anyway, so they have this thing called the Oasis in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a virtual reality world. Like you put on these goggles and you have the poor people. They got the goggles and like some gloves, and that's about it. Or you can get like full rigs where you're like in it. It's like a fucking gyroscope, and you like move around and shit.
Oh, okay.
And you go into this world, and that's where you go to school. You don't go to school in an actual classroom. You just hook up and you go to school in this virtual world. You go to work. There's people like their whole job is in this virtual world. You make money in this virtual world. You never actually have to leave your house for anything because you can get everything and anything, and your entire life is based in this virtual world.
How far out are we from that? Because I see that as being a strong possibility.
Well, that's the thing the book talks about. Is that
fast food places already switching over to automated ordering systems.
How dare we ask for better pay?
Well, see, we're gonna dodge the political tangent on that one.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
I hear you. That's a topic in itself. But the fact that they are switching to those automated systems, those jobs are being taken away. But then we're seeing more technological jobs going into place, and how far are we from basically people doing everything from home?
I think we're getting closer and closer. I mean, like Amazon, if you live in the right city, you can sit in your home. You're gonna I want I want a bottle of wine, and I want like some food to go with it. And you can order it off Amazon. They'll deliver it to your house in an hour.
Yeah,
by drone.
As long as you live close enough to one of their distribution centers. Yeah,
like that's crazy.
Because the closest one to us is actually in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Oh, and I know they're even. I just read this week. I think it's Domino's. It's either Domino's or Pizza Hut. They're going to be experimenting with automated delivery cars So like you order a pizza, they put it in the car, and the car will drive to you and deliver it to you. Like you have to go outside and get it from the car, and then you pay the car, and then the car leaves.
It's cool that you mentioned the automated cars because the company that I think is going to spearhead that in the future is actually going to be Apple. They're very quiet about it.
There's a lot of people working on it right now. I think Google, from what I've read, has the lead
for right now.
Yeah,
but Apple's been quiet on it.
See,
they didn't even announce that they were getting into the basically automated automotive division,
right. And
but they were licensed to do so. So they bothered to get the licensing, but then they didn't announce anything publicly. Right. So they're secretly working on it, and Apple only releases something when they want to wow.
See, you're close. See
where am I wrong, man?
The wrong part was that they're working on it. See, what they do is they get the licensing for it, and this is what Apple has done. If you can go back and you can look this up for years, they're
waiting for somebody to be good at it.
Yeah, they're waiting for somebody to be good at it, then they steal the technology and claim they came up with it first. I mean, look at the tablet, look at the iPhone. All that is really just stolen from other companies.
I'll be honest with you. Everybody that I worked with, there's only like 2 people throughout the time that I worked in cellular that sold with me that actually liked Apple.
I can't stand
the majority of us that worked in cellular that I knew of, and I mean, I worked with up to 25 people over the course of the 14 months that I was in cellular. The majority of these people were Android. And so we were constantly talking to these people that wanted an iPhone and trying to convince them to get Samsung or Motorola. And it got to the point where one-on-one with a customer, I managed to find the balls to be like, okay, well, I understand you want an iPhone, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion. There are only 2 things from Apple worth owning. An iPad Pro for media, because I have one, and I love it. It's tax deducted. I love it. And they're stock. So they're tablets and they're stock. Those are the only 2 things worth. And they're like, well, why Apple stock? It's like, because people like you are going to come in just year after year and get a brand new iPhone.
See, I think Steve Jobs for Apple was the modern version of Walt Disney. So I don't know if you know much about like how Disney got his start. The man,
well, enlighten us.
The man couldn't, seriously, like if you go look this up, the man couldn't animate out of a box. Like he couldn't draw his way out of a paper bag.
He was not a visual artist.
Not really. He was an animator. He didn't create anything. What Walt Disney was good at was recognizing talent and knowing how to take it. And knowing how to take anyone who was good at talent that didn't want to step in line and crushing it.
Thomas Edison style.
Basically. So that's all Walt Disney did. I mean, literally, like he blacklisted and destroyed the careers of any animator that didn't want to work with him. He took up all the talent he could, and he put them to work in such a way that it worked for him. Steve Jobs did the same thing. Sure, was there a couple of things? I'm sure, I'm not saying Steve Jobs was an idiot. He wasn't. He was a very, very smart individual, but he wasn't as technologically genius as everyone gives him credit for. He was just very good at recognizing talent and knowing the perfect opportunity to take other people's ideas and then modifying them and throwing his own brand on it and being excellent at marketing. That's what the man did.
Yeah.
He wasn't as innovative as everyone thought. He was he's just good at marketing more so than anything else. And bravo. I mean, I'm like, you can't fault the guy, for taking, that tech and just turning around, making a bundle load of money and just skipping away.
Yeah, the fact is he died a rich man.
And that's really all it's about.
But you realize there are like dozens of Apple faithful out there that just kind of like groaned in agony.
And I understand that. And again, I understand market loyalty and everything else like that. One of my biggest problems with Apple is that they feed too much into, this new way of creating that it's really only been around for almost about 100 years, so a while, but not quite 100 years yet, is the idea of designed I can never say the word obsolescence. It means I can never say the word.
Planned obsolescence.
That's the word. Thank you. Sorry, I can't speak today.
Well, and that's what it is with everything.
Well, GM created it.
Yeah.
Because Ford had this great marketplace with all these great cars back in the day with the Model Ts and all that stuff, and GM had its own cars.
It was meant to be like you buy the car and you just have a car.
Forever. Right. And GM started out that way too, and then they're like, God, we're not selling as many cars as we need to sell. We're not making enough money. How can we make more money? And then some guy, some asshole over at GM back in the day was just like, if we don't make our cars quite as well, if we make them a little bit crappier so that someday they'll break down, but they're really nice for a while, they'll have to buy another one.
Yeah.
And they're like, genius, give this man a raise. And ever since then, a lot of companies do it because, if you only have to buy one car, well, the car industry is going to fail. If you only have to buy one phone, the phone industry is going to fail. Same thing with all technology. It's not designed to last because then you're not going to buy another one.
And there is an idea out there. I want to say that it was originally the Google Alexa or something like that. It was meant to basically be a basic framework, like a skeleton of a phone, if you will. And since phones are constantly changing, like every year there's new features, there's new abilities, new design, everything like that. It was actually meant to be a modular phone so that you were able to buy the attachments that you wanted. If you wanted more memory, well, you bought the actual attachment that has more memory, you slide it into the framework of the phone, and there you go. So you could Frankenstein your own phone together based off of this basic framework skeleton of a phone. And the idea behind it was that we get boxed into these phones. This has this feature which I like note users. They love their S Pen so much that they will be note users forever. But that phone doesn't have some of the capabilities that other devices have. And so you get boxed into this situation where the designers of this phone meant it so that people could go ahead and have a phone that would grow with them. When the next upgrade came out, you just get the new attachment for it, which would be much cheaper than actually buying another phone. Because these smartphones are now upwards of $1,000.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's insane how much they're charging.
It is truly disgusting. And it's like, now that I'm out of cellular, I love what Samsung did with the Note 8. I've got the Galaxy S8 Plus, and I'm a Note guy. But I'm hanging on to my S8 Plus. The Note doesn't have enough of an allure now that I'm out of cellular retail to actually have, a big enough allure for me to go ahead and bite the bullet, trade in my phone and buy it, because it's now a fiscal move where the technology's not going to get me that bad where I'm going to go out and spend $900 on a cell phone.
I just can't picture spending that much money on a phone every year. Like it. And the funny part is I worked at I worked at a call center for a couple of years, and I worked with people, and there was this one guy there I worked with, and I'm not gonna say his name, but if you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm using you as an example. You'll know who you are. The guy, he's told me he literally lived paycheck to the point where he would be down to like 40 cents in his bank account waiting for the next paycheck. But every year he had the newest phone, and he had an Apple Watch on his wrist. And I'm just sitting here like,
oh, that vanity, man.
I'm like, dude, it drove me nuts. And I'm like, why? What is the point of this? But I don't know. All I know is that some other technology is definitely some of it's definitely cool. I mean, like, because with the phones, you're seeing more and more that AI kind of start to sprout out and learn more.
Did you see that study with Google?
Yeah, that with where they had to shut it down.
It was the game where it was like you had to collect the berries or whatever.
Oh no, I was thinking something else. Go ahead.
Basically, they set up this kind of basic game where you would go in and there was like these items you had to collect that were on the map, and you were able to shoot lasers to basically temporarily stall out the opponent.
Yeah.
And so when they pitted these AI against each other, it was like the more advanced the AI was, like, so for example, say there's when you start out, there's plenty of things to collect. So, well, just go collect. The AI would collect, and then when resources became scarce, then would start utilizing this laser to freeze the opponent and collect more. But the more advanced the AI became, the sooner into the match would the AI use the laser.
Right.
So what Google was able to take away from that was that the more advanced the AI, the more aggressive it was in their approach for completing tasks.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't.
Elon
remember.
Musk is even outspoken against it right now.
Out. I can't remember. I think it was Google. I can't say no. It was Facebook. It was Facebook, I think it was testing a new AI that they're working on. And what they wanted to do was test its ability to work in a marketplace. So the AI's ability to haggle and buy and sell things. So they took two AI and they put them and they had them put them against each other to try to basically create this mini marketplace between these two AI, right?
Okay.
They had to shut it down within only, I think it was like an hour or within hours of the experiment starting.
Why is that?
Because apparently they started communicating. They created their own language. I am not kidding you. You can go look this up. They literally, the two AI suddenly developed their own language out of thin air and started hyper communicating at super fast rates. And the people running the experiment were like, we don't know what they're talking about anymore. This is freaking us out. And they shut the whole thing down.
Like, it's all this is so recent too. So Facebook, Google, they've been having, some intriguing moments in terms of advanced artificial intelligence. And then Elon Musk running around now warning people about it.
Well, Stephen Hawking's been warning people about it for years. He's terrified of it.
Yeah. Skynet, man. It could become a reality.
Well, did you... I read it I think it was 2 weeks ago. 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. But it was the BBC News had an article about artificial intelligence and warfare. And apparently they're terrified of it. Not because and it's not for the reason you think, because they're talking about we're looking within the next 5 years. So even within the next 5 years, we're looking at, you will see tanks, drones, all stuff like that have AI in it they will go into a combat situation, they will assess the situation, make an analysis, pick their own targets out of the situational analysis, decide what if deadly force is acceptable, and then execute that deadly force without a single human being involved in any of that decision making.
Which on the surface sounds like a great idea.
No, it doesn't.
No. Which on the surface it does, because in terms of how much the human life that would potentially be protected.
Yeah.
If the success rate is high enough with the AI tanks.
Now here's the problem though that the article is talking. They're not worried about some sort of like Skynet, Terminator problem where the machines are going to like, oh, we got guns now, let's take out the humans. They're not even remotely concerned about that.
No, because they're removing the human aspect of basically the importance of life, the weight of the decision.
Nope, not even that.
I'm talking about my perspective on it.
I don't understand your perspective. You know what their problem was?
Let's hear it.
They're too stupid. The
Really?
problem is the AI, even the most advanced AI that we can come up with in today's world,
Still
is
not
too
capable.
stupid.
Wow.
They discovered it works in pristine conditions where it is very clear who is the bad guy, who is the good guy. It works. The problem is the world is messy, and computers are not good at learning that.
They're programmed for black and white, and it's all gray.
Yeah, they don't handle it well. So the concern isn't whether or not they're going to turn on us. The concern is how many innocent people are going to be accidentally labeled as combatants and killed by these machines.
I suppose it would be based off of basically a command script of our definition of a combatant.
Basically, but the machines are also apparently these AI systems are designed to learn and grow. So as they experience more combat, the AI programming learns, and it uses that to adapt and change its programming. So it can better define what isn't a combatant. Again, the problem is
that's where the problem
is.
You plant the seed for the problem there then, because
Right.
when you automatically program the technology to essentially be comprehensive
Right.
in its advancement and evolution, allowing a computer to learn comprehensive value is really setting the tone, because technological life, like, I'm not saying we're going to have Transformers coming from the dark side of the moon.
Oh, come on.
But we understand life in basically an evolutionary biological standpoint.
Right.
We can't fully comprehend. Like, we've had sci-fi movies. Look at Terminator with Skynet and iRobot. There's literally dozens of movies that deal with the future of tech, whether it be military advancements or consumer advancements in the economic realm, a possibility. But can we truly understand what a machine will be like, or a piece of tech will be like, if it becomes comprehensive or intuitive?
Yeah, it's one of those things you never know what they're going to do. and that's part of the scary part.
Until you witness it.
Right.
Is it truly predictable? Well, no, because if you have two or supercomputers more or less that just develop their own, hyperactive speech and communicate with each other that quickly, can we truly predict what it's going to be like if we can't even understand what they're saying?
Yeah, we can't break. By the way, with that situation that happened, they can't break the code.
They still can't break the code.
No, they tried and then they just stopped right away because they realized that because it's not based on human understanding. They said it would take hundreds of years to break down and understand what the hell language they just created.
God.
Because it is not even remotely based on human understanding. Human language, none of it. It's not even remotely based on our language.
See, think if there was more of these. Think if there were hundreds of thousands of these computers that had the ability to think on that level, more or less.
Right.
Discussing it from a human perspective. How terrifying that could be. As people, we kind of fear the unknown.
Yeah.
In a sense. But we're especially going to fear a computer that's sitting 10 feet from us that's communicating with thousands of other computers in a language we can't understand. What's going on?
Oh, that's why they're trying to put a face on it. I mean, you see a lot of the more advancements with that you see with autonomies. You're seeing a lot in the healthcare field. I was reading recently in Japan. It's huge because the problem is over in Japan is you have an aging population, but you don't have enough young people, especially young people going into the health field, to take care of the aging population.
Oh no!
They predict in the next 10 to 20 years it's going to become a crisis in Japan because they just don't have enough people to care for all the elderly.
Wow.
So
they're racing it with technology.
Yep. So basically, they're relying on the tech field to make up the difference. So they're developing, and it's amazing to watch the videos. They're developing robots that look friendly as can be to not scare the old people, and essentially they're robots that will act as a basic healthcare person. So they're like these robots, they have soft padded hands and everything. They can pick up the person, they can put them on, on the toilet, they can put them in the bathtub, they can pick them up and put them in bed, they can help them out of chairs, they can bring food or other items to them, we're going to walk across the house.
Yep.
They're designed to be, a helper bot for these elderly people because there's no one to care for them, because there's just not enough people to do it.
So we were basically, we're going to talk about future tech, but this is getting in the realm of more or less...
Because the future's now, man. The future's now.
Artificial consciousness, more or less. Now, as far as the health bot, I think there's this kind of stigma about it where people automatically assume that the military is going to want to weaponize any futuristic tech like that. Whereas a health assistant or a care assistant robot, awesome. For Japan, that makes sense. What are they good at? Technology. What do they not have enough of? People to care for the elderly. Technology fills that void. Crisis averted.
Right, and again, it's something. It's one of the good stories that are coming out of the emerging health, care and everything.
Yep.
Of technology, but there are cool stories like that coming out of it. Another example. I'm sorry, I'm shooting all over here.
This is great
because I love reading tech articles. Another one I read was about space travel. And they're creating what they're calling microchips or something like that. They're calling.
Huh.
Now, right now, the ones in development, these are spacecrafts the size of golf balls. Clearly not meant for people. But they're the size of golf balls, and they're filled with sensors, tons, hundreds of as many sensors as they can pack into that little thing, and it has,
which is quite a lot now.
Right.
Samsung, just on their consumer end of the marketplace. For example, with their newest smartphone, not counting the Note 8, but their S8 Plus, they can now actually get up to 10,000 transistors on the width of a human hair.
Yep.
So if they can do that, technology, the amount of technology you can pack into a spacecraft the size of a golf ball,
right,
is actually pretty damn good now.
Right, and the thing will be equipped with a solar sail. Have you ever heard of a solar sail?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, a solar sail is basically it works like a the ship would work like a sailboat it does here on Earth, with the wind and everything. Except the idea is to catch the shifting particles in space, in the vacuum of space, to use them to propel you forward.
They used them on Treasure Planet.
Yes. The problem is we can't use them on large ships because the ship's too heavy. It moves too slowly. But on something the size of a golf ball, you can actually pick up some speed. Now, they're testing these, and the idea is they want to get to the point, and they think we will within the next 20 years. Easily, they said. Easily in the next 20 years, we'll reach the point. They want to make them the size of postage stamps. U.S. postage stamps will be the size of the ship. It'll have a solar sail hooked up to it, and then we're gonna put it either on our International Space Station, or they're literally talking about putting a laser on the moon. And what it'll do is they'll send these microships out into space towards the next nearest solar system, and they'll use the lasers out in space that they're going to set up, and they're going to shoot them at the solar sails, and it will literally skyrocket that thing through space. So the point will be they can get these because they're so small.
They're going to use the moon as a distribution center?
Basically.
Wow.
Is the idea. Like
Got more coffee?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
But they're basically they can use it to propel them at super high speeds. So you're going to be able to get these microships from Earth to our nearest solar system in 40 years. The travel will only take 40 years. And then it'll take about 4 years for them to transmit the data back. So we're looking at the point by the time you and I are old, we will literally be having millions of these tiny little spacecrafts in another solar system, reading data freaking everywhere and sending it constantly back. We will have a constant data stream coming from the nearest solar system. And that's going to be within our lifetime.
That is incredible. I have to admit, I'm still fascinated by space exploration. Mm-hmm. I know that, it's kind of gone to the private realm, but SpaceX, Elon Musk, I appreciate what those guys are doing, because what we're going to be able to do is over the next 25 to 50 years, we're going to exponentially increase our capabilities for space travel and exploration.
Oh, the problem is funding. Did you know
Correct.
They actually made a warp drive?
What?
There's yes, you Trekkies out there. They have plans. I forget which scientist did it. Some scientists have plans for what they think, if it's built, would be a legitimate working warp drive. And what it basically can do, if built, is in theory, it can take the space, the literal space, physical space in front of the ship, condense it down and stretch it tight and push it behind the ship, and then expand it outward very quickly. And it would shoot the ship forward through space like a bullet, warping space around it. Hence warp drive. The problem is they can't build it, because the prototype, a potential prototype, would cost around $3 to $4 billion to make one, and there's no guarantee it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, it could explode like a nuclear bomb. So no one's giving them the funding to build the damn thing.
Crowdfunding, man. I'd throw
It's
20 bucks.
a lot of money.
I'd throw $20 towards it.
Right?
But it may be a lot of money to a singular person, but I mean, you look at what the U.S. government budget is.
Right, but that budget though, that number though, the $3 to $4 billion, that doesn't include facilities, that doesn't include the cost of the people, the food, and everything to make it. That's just the price tag of the item itself, of the drive itself.
So basically, that's something that we have the capability to do, but due to business interests and finances, is going to sit on the shelf for quite a while.
Yep. No one wants to fund it.
Because I mean, think about it. With the space station, it was a dumb idea, but I was watching I don't know, I think I was looking through Netflix and saw Interstellar on there or something like that. And I thought about it, I'm like, how long is it before a marketplace with living quarters and stuff like that just becomes a thing, almost like Cloud City in Star Wars above Bespin, before we actually have a goddamn mall just hanging there in orbit? Because there's one company that's looking at basically a sky bridge.
Yeah.
Where, you've seen that. I can't remember the company, and I feel bad that I didn't do my research on it.
Shame.
Shame. Ding, ding. Shame. And they rejoice. Or there was much rejoicing.
Yay.
But once they do that, think of it. It's going to be really easy if this actually comes to fruition. Instead of having to launch these smaller spacecraft, essentially you could just load up a pallet of it, put it in this elevator to orbit, ship them up there, and then you would have, essentially, it would be like, you know how through history, we had to learn how to sail across the ocean.
Right.
Then, we mastered that. We had to get better at, methods of travel, whether it be train, automobile, airplane. There's always the advancements, but then once we enter a new realm or a new era, a new stage of that, you have to, like, rediscover it. And that's what we're doing with space. Like, we found something that works, but we have to get more efficient, more effective. And I applaud companies like SpaceX that are working towards that, but naturally they're having to, start from scratch.
Right.
Like, we have to build a rocket that works. Now we got to try to land the rocket safely. And, it's a tough game because where is the profit in space exploration right now?
They actually already found it. That was going to be my next thing.
Meteorites?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you
Or
heard
meteors,
about this.
excuse me?
Meteors, and asteroids and comets. The
minerals in those things.
There's actually a plan, and this is actually a partially government plan to create. I'm not kidding you, people. Literal space cowboys to lasso meteors, asteroids, and comets out of space, bring them into orbit around Earth, and then mine them. Yes, we will literally have space cowboys in the future, which hog tie and lasso giant space rocks for minerals.
It only makes sense. Like, you used to play StarCraft, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, RTS, StarCraft, baby, Blizzard Entertainment. But StarCraft 1, you could sit on your resources and just mine for minerals all day.
Yeah.
StarCraft 2, I had a little bit of culture shock. Because I'm just basically making a very nerdy, Blizzard fan reference to this.
Nerd alert.
But, so StarCraft 2, did you play that one?
No.
The difference was StarCraft 2, I played it like StarCraft 1. All of a sudden, resources depleted, no more minerals, done. And I'm like, oh my God, I just created my whole defense based off of this. Like, I spent way too many resources on this. Now I got to venture out. Technology has to get to the point. So the space cowboy thing, I see that being a reality because once we run out of the resources down here, look at population growth. Within the next, 10 to 15 years, we're expected to have over 9 billion people.
Yep. And we can support, I think they said with today's technology, we could support around, I think 12. Right now it's 12. They estimate the next 20 years that number could go up to 15 billion.
Wow.
But that's with optimal usage.
And that's not going to be the case.
No. God, no.
Like, homeostasis ain't happening, kids.
Yeah, no. The planet...
Not at this rate.
No. But that's also because they've designed ways to artificially grow plants in warehouses year-round.
Now, that
really cool.
That side of tech, I am loving these, like, skyscrapers that are actually greenhouses.
Yep.
In the bigger cities. Bigger cities are getting it right. Again, we're not going to get too far into climate change, but I think it's a little known fact that people like us, the suburban types, are actually creating a much larger footprint than those that live in the bigger cities. Like, the average person living in New York has a much smaller carbon footprint than you or I do.
I'm wasteful.
Well, but you think about it, we're driving.
Yeah.
You had, a half-hour drive just to get here to record this episode?
Yeah, half-hour, 40-minute drive just to get here to record, yeah.
That's you, one person, using that gas in that vehicle just to come down here and do this. We don't have, high-speed rails in central Wisconsin. We do have a bus service in Stevens Point, but we don't have a bus service between towns or cities.
No, on the bright
Wausau
side...
to Madison, but that's like a once-a-day thing.
But on the bright side, at least... electric cars are getting cheaper.
I do want a Tesla.
Have you heard how much the new Teslas are going to cost?
How much?
They're coming out.
I just said I want one. I didn't look at the price tag because I'm not
right now.
Gonna hurt myself.
A Tesla car is around $60,000 to $80,000, which is it's a bit more than I can afford.
Yeah, my current car, which I absolutely love, is $9,000.
Yeah. The brand new Teslas that are coming out a little later this year.
Yeah.
And they expect a literal 400% company growth in the next 5 years off of these babies.
Oh, yes.
Will price tag at around $30,000. So they're literally halving the price or more for their electric cars, because the idea is they want to make it more affordable for the average person. So you'll be able to buy in the future a used electric car for about $10,000 to $15,000.
That's sexy is what that is.
That's the idea.
I can't wait for that. But to be honest with you, look at our winters that we have in central Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
Like I've talked to people about this. Some friends and I were discussing while we were fishing one day. It was like, okay, so what happens? Teslas are super expensive, but like, what happens if the price does come down, people get onto those electric cars. Like, what happens if we encounter an EMP situation? The power grid goes down, so we can't charge our cars, or in the middle of winter. Because you can only go 280, 300 miles on a Tesla between charges.
The newer ones are between 300 and 400 miles.
Okay, so they are they're upwards of 400 now.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation about battery technology. But yes, go ahead.
Well, yeah, that is because it sounds stupid, but battery technology in itself is a whole. Yeah,
I've been reading articles. There's 2 new technologies they just developed. We're about to hit a battery explosion of technology. And I am super freaking excited.
Because batteries have been relatively stagnant. Like, cell phone batteries have not changed that much.
Nope.
But the Japanese, they've had batteries for electric cars for years that were far better than what were actually practiced put into place in the open market.
Oh, yeah. And actually, they just developed these new batteries, and I forget the name of the company, but they're making them now. They're in production. The only thing is you and I can't buy them yet because the company is 100% right now, unfortunately, devoted to the military. They're not a military company. It's just the military's put in so many orders, they haven't even begun marketing to consumers yet because they're so busy filling the military orders.
To be honest with you, though, that you think about it, the military kind of gets all the best of the best.
Oh, yeah.
And, some soldiers would argue about that. I've no disrespect to the servicemen and women, just saying that the military usually gets to play with the advanced tech before it becomes a consumer
that's just how it works.
Commodity.
But anyway, so these batteries, for example, for you sitting at home, your cell phone battery, a brand new phone, how long does the battery typically last?
Even on my S8 Plus?
Yeah.
Basically 24-hour battery if I'm not using it much.
Okay, so 24 hours with minimal usage. How long would you say would last with heavy usage?
Honestly, 8 hours.
8 hours. So these new batteries, these are batteries currently in existence. Mm-hmm. They just haven't started putting them up because the military is buying them all up. These batteries will last you about a week. Same heavy usage on a cell phone, the battery will last a week before needing a charge.
But see, again, not to get into a debate beyond, because we're trying to keep it somewhat light.
Right.
Because you and I, we could talk about anything and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But like, economically with planned obsolescence, it's frustrating to me because like we're in a position where when I'm in this trailer park, I'm not going to bother with solar panels.
Right.
Like, the solar panels are going to be worth more than the house then. But eventually I want to be on my own solar setup so that I'm not having to pay for that utility.
Tesla shingles, man. I'm excited.
Exactly. Because those things are beautiful.
Oh yeah. For those of you who don't know what Tesla, that's not what they're actually called. I'm calling them Tesla shingles
because it's their product.
Yeah, it's their product. Basically, it's these shingles and that you can buy right now. I think they're going to be available. I think next year, and they're starting out on the West Coast. But you can.
They're relatively affordable.
That's actually cheaper than redoing your roof and then adding solar panels.
And the funny thing is, they have. Like the actual planned life expectancy of those shingles is much better than the standard shingles we use on our homes now.
They're much more durable and they're much better than the old solar panels because they're using a new technology.
It's the best of both worlds.
It is, and the idea is that by 50 years from now, the power grid that the country is based on will be for the most part used for factories and backup. That every home should, for the most part, be self-sufficient, if not feeding into the power supply.
But due to capitalistic interest, you've got people that fight that kind of stuff.
Right. It's going to take a while, but we'll eventually get there. I mean, these things are amazing. I want them.
Yeah.
They just can't get them here. But anyway, part of it is, the battery limitation was a lot of the problem for a long time for a lot of these companies. But they talked about, they developed this I forget, it was some college kid. Yeah, they were a grad student. They were just experimenting with batteries, and they created this goo essentially. And if you the part of the battery that wears out, it's some wire that's in there, and essentially every time you charge the battery, it wears it more. and that's why the battery stops being efficient, because this wire that's in there, that's in every battery, it gives out.
Yep.
There's this goo this grad student accidentally invented, not realizing what it was going to do. If you put that goo in the battery and have it surround that wire, you can, I think he said he did 200 goes through, and the wire he was using with one circuit, he said he could get about 65 recharges with this wire. He got 200 recharge with this wire, and it showed zero sign of eroding.
Wow.
Essentially, he found a way to make batteries last, for the most part, forever.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that technology hasn't reached the market yet, not even for the military, but because that was only just within the last year he accidentally created this.
Yeah, so now it's in the testing phase.
Now it's in the testing phase. So we're looking at, within the next 20 years, batteries that will essentially last forever.
History, we both love history.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about Tesla, the company, but Tesla, the man.
Oh, that dude was a genius.
Do you realize that if people had actually paid attention to him, we would be in a state where, like, nobody would be paying for electricity right now?
Did you know he actually developed towers that could power, like, if they existed today, they could have powered our cell phones for an entire area?
The man was so far ahead of his time because he imagined that everybody would basically have, in his mind, we don't know exactly what it looked like, but he understood that we would all be connected through this cellular network.
Yeah. Do you know what the problem is, why we don't have those towers today? Because when everyone said that he built one, and when everyone's like, well, this is useless technology, because, it was at the time, he's got really depressed and he burned all his notes.
Wow.
So we haven't been able to replicate it. Yes, we cannot replicate what he built yet.
But that's the thing, man. He had so many inventions that were ahead of their time.
Oh, totally.
And that's why, like, to me, the man of today, which maybe he's not actually a genius, he's just a social entrepreneur, philanthropist type, but Elon Musk is kind of my idol. Like that Hyperloop that he wants to make to basically make commuter travel much easier and more efficient. That's the kind of stuff we need. Like, to be honest with you, I would love to go to LA, make weekend trips to Chicago, but what kills me the most is the drive.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to sit in a car longer than an hour before I'm like, ugh, this sucks. So if we were actually able to move forward in terms of the technology we have with commuter travel, that would be awesome.
See, for me, I'm looking ahead of you, man. You're looking in the near future. You're like, like fast travel, all that kind of stuff. I'm looking one step beyond. Teleportation.
See, hold on. I do have to say, I recognize that there is the possibility that with today's threats in modern society, that the reason that my near future idea wouldn't be actually possible is because you can't fast travel when enemies are nearby.
That's true. You cannot fast travel when enemies are near.
That's called a long form video game joke.
Oh, yes.
But yes, so teleportation.
So this was something they've been working on for a long time. And supposedly, and this was about 5-6 years ago, so it's like the baby step of it. Because this is something that I enjoy reading up on because it makes me happy. Some Russian scientists.
You're now going to encourage me to read up on him.
I know, right? Some Russian scientists, they actually.
I'm a sponge for my friends.
They teleported proton particles, essentially light. They were able to move it from a lab in Russia to a lab in, I think it was Romania. I mean, they literally soaked up so much power. There was power outages for miles around the lab. It took so much power, but they moved those protons instantaneously from their lab in Russia to the lab in, I think it was Romania. Don't quote me 100% on that. And they did it. They knew what's possible. Now that they discovered that the Higgs boson particle is real. Bison. Yeah.
Fighting bison.
Yes. Sorry, now I'm having Street Fighter flashbacks. But anyway, so now that we discovered this particle, one of the things that is definitely on the table, not in our lifetimes unless there's some major breakthroughs, is actual teleportation. Because in quantum mechanics, it is very real and possible to move things from one place to another, teleport in a very real sense. What would actually happen to a human consciousness during that process is kind of the crux of the whole it might kill you or you'll come through wrong or stuff like that. You know, that whole sci-fi trope. That's something that's very real.
Like Star Trek-y style.
Right, but the thing, one of the things we could do with it is we could communicate with space travelers outside of the range. So, like I said, those the nearest solar system would take about 4 years for the transmissions to come back. If we develop teleportation, we could teleport the data instantaneously across space without having to worry about like mental corruption or anything like that.
Okay.
So it would be a way for instant communication from literally light years away. That is one of the big things they want to do with it. Because it's easier to teleport data. It takes a lot less energy than a whole being. So like if you wanted to teleport an apple, so you have an apple here, you teleport it there. That's a lot of power. It's right now, even if we could teleport successfully, that's hard, let alone a whole person. But if you're just transporting data, that is a whole other medium. You can do that a lot easier. And again, so we're talking about space travel. One of the biggest problems
It'd be like a
communication.
space version of an email then,
Basically, yeah. Space email is what they're going to use.
Space mail.
Space mail. That's how our space cowboys will get a hold of it. They'll use space mail.
That's an awesome idea.
But that's something
I'm sitting here
at.
quietly pondering it, and it's like, you're doing a podcast. Stop pondering. But do you think that maybe we have a misguided or misplaced interest, I guess, or obsession with smartphone technology? So we're more interested in the here and now, gimme instant gratification technology advancements, and perhaps that we should focus our attention more towards advancement in like energy, in terms of, we got to move past electricity in some form. Do you think that maybe our current attention towards advancements in energy technology, maybe batteries will help with it, but if that lab had used that much power, I don't see batteries currently being an alternative option to the electrical grid.
And it's not. And that's one of the things, like there's still people, I know this term's been around for ages, cold fusion, stuff like that. They're working on trying to make new, better forms of energy.
Like, almost super nuclear, but safer.
Pretty much. That's something else that a lot of people are also working on, that I've read up on. But the thing is, you talk about we're all obsessed with our phones, and that level of technology, and that's true, but that doesn't mean science is. It's just the media really, they focus on things that appeal to us, and we're all selfish by nature.
What I mean then is because we have more or less a misplaced interest for the pop culture rather than more people being engaged with scientific advancement. Like you see Neil deGrasse Tyson going around trying to get adults engaged in science. Because when we shift that focus, we then have a popular opinion in society that's how we decide where to go in the timeline as people.
See, this is why I think more fun facts need to be thrown out at people. So, for example, you want to get people interested in space? Alcohol. There is, and you can go look this up online yourself, there is literal lake of alcohol in space. It was discovered a number of years ago by some scientists who are way smarter than me, and I don't exactly know how they figured it out because, again, they're way smarter than me. But they discovered this giant lake, like actual like liquid floating in space, where that is, I forget the size. The size is about the size of our solar system. It may be a little bit smaller, but it's an enormous body of liquid out in space. And they ran spectrum tests on it from Earth here, and they discovered that it has the exact chemical makeup of raspberry rum.
That sounds delicious.
It is.
I'm not even a rum guy, but space
There's
rum.
a giant lake of raspberry space rum out there. And it has the same chemical composition from what we can tell from here. So you want to get people interested in space? Tell them that we develop space technology. There's a giant lake of rum out in space. Let's go hit it.
That'd probably help. But I mean, we love having these technological advancements that make life a little bit easier, but it seems like it's solely focused around entertainment right now.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of good work going on out there. It's just that the spotlight ends up being on Apple or Samsung when their new phones come out. And like TVs, the technology there, LG's got TVs where basically you have the sound bar, and the sound bar is actually the computer of the TV, and then they have a screen that is essentially a refrigerator magnet but supersized. So all you end up doing is screwing these magnets into the wall and then unroll your TV and basically put your kid's drawing up on it. You know
Oh, yeah.
what I'm saying?
OLED.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's organic LED. Forget what LED stands for.
They're free range, guys.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, no, I mean, because TVs, as far as like the quality of the picture, has actually reached the point where scientists have flat out said you can't get any clearer picture. It's literally the picture is as good as a human eye can detect. It cannot get.
We're to the point
picture.
that it's actually pointless to improve the visual
It
technology.
is completely point. The human eye can't detect it.
Yeah.
There's no point in it. So now they're working on, again, these organic LED screens, which I've read
Now
about.
they're adding the warmth.
They're so cool. Like, have you seen like videos of them yet?
Yeah.
Seriously, people, if you have not looked at them, they're super, super freaking cool. You just go on YouTube, you look them up, and essentially, like, you'll see people carry around. They look like those blueprint containers, and like those tubes that you see like smart people with that you pull out and the scrolls of paper.
It's basically an industrial poster tube.
Right. So you open it up and you pull out this, this like rolled up clear mat, and you unroll it and you hook it up through, it's wireless, and it plays a perfect, clear, amazing 4K screen of TV. There's actually, I think it's Sony. It has a patent out there right now for designing clothing that will have a spot in the clothes where it's designed to put one of these screens into your clothes. You just take it out, wash your clothes, put it back, and then when they're dry, you put the screen back in. That way you can walk around. You don't need to have sayings on your clothes anymore. You don't have to worry about design on like your clothes, because you can just change it at a moment's notice, like from an Apple Watch or something, and boom, you can change whatever's appearing. You can like have TV shows on your chest as you walk around all day long. People can just watch the show as you're walking down the street. You can change the saying. That's terrifying in so many ways, but it's so freaking cool.
My first thought is Teletubbies. After hearing that,
basically, we'll become a bunch of freaking Teletubbies. My worry is that somebody's going to walk down the street, put something inappropriate on there, and then we're going to hit a whole new level of free speech conversation.
Well, see, and that's tough because the technology is moving a lot faster than legislation is.
I am well freaking aware, having worked in credit card fraud for over 2 years.
Yeah.
Enlighten
us for a minute, because you don't have too much time. You got a schedule to keep, so I mean,
I do have to get going soon.
We can go maybe 5-10 minutes more tops.
No, yeah, I worked with credit card fraud, and very often people, I would do my research, figure out what's fraud. I'd find the real card holder, call up and like, hey, someone stole your card, we're canceling the order, and they're like, okay, well, are you going to call the cops for me? No, that's not my job. That's not what our company does. You have to call the cops. Okay, will they take care of it? Like, probably not. And they're like, why not? Because they didn't actually take anything, and even if they did, it's like it's way less than 10,000, way less than 20,000. The cops aren't going to care. Like, they care, but there's nothing they can do about it because it's so hard to capture these people. There's so little legislation on what they can do and like what they have access to.
You have to look at it from a business standpoint.
Right.
They're going to spend how much money as basically a law enforcement office versus how much they're going to get back.
Right. So they tell people, unfortunately, there's really not much you can do. This person's going to get away with it for the most part. Though the fun times was when the cops did call us and they're like, hey, do you have information? And I'm like, oh boy, do I. And I sit there and I'm not kidding. Just from my standpoint, working at a company with the credit card fraud, I could tell the officer the name of the person who stole the card. I could tell them where they lived. I can tell them their cell phone number. I can give them their email address. I can tell them the literal device ID of the phone or computer they used to place it. I can give you the latitude and longitude in which they placed it at.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly where that son of a bitch is and how to get them.
Yeah. I believe it because, I worked with credit reports, and just that alone, like, I could click a button to get somebody's credit report.
Yeah.
And within 3 seconds, I have the document, and they've already got documentation on there showing that I pulled the credit report.
Yep.
Like, it's instantaneous.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the tech that's used in the financial sector, I don't even want to monkey with that, man. That's got to be almost as good a protection as what our government agencies have on their technology, because cyber warfare is the future of warfare.
I was actually reading an article about that because, again, I love my tech articles. They're talking that the government can't keep up with hacking. Right now, our only option is apparently our government is hiring out of agencies. out of agency. The majority of the people that are protecting our country from hacking, like the government and everything else, are contracted white hat hackers. Because we don't have the funding and we don't have the legislation in place and the people in place to protect us ourselves. So we are literally contracting out our nation's defense to regular old Joe Schmo people who are hacking for the good guys.
And that's where I love the idea of technology and the advancements with technology, because like I said, technology is moving way faster than our legislation is.
Oh yeah.
And so the only, we've discovered enough of our planet, enough of our solar system, stuff like that, that we are kind of moving towards no more frontier. And the internet technology is the true last frontier for us for our lifetimes.
For our lifetimes. I mean, there's still space. The
Exactly
final frontier.
Yes, exactly it. I mean, but, for our foreseeable future, what we're going to be looking at is the setup to the, commercial space travel, stuff like that. Yeah. I know that's going to happen because there are explorers in a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
There are going to be people that are like, I have no family and I would love to be the first one to go past Pluto.
Watch if you're interested in that, watch the movie Passengers. Have you seen it?
No.
It stars
I've been sheltered.
Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt.
Oh really? Yeah, okay.
It's one of those movies where a lot of people panned it.
I saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, a lot of people panned it. It was a fantastic movie, and it talked about, and it takes place in a future where that's a thing. Like there's a company, it's all privatized, it's not the government. There's a private company that creates arcs of people on these ships. They send them out to planets to seed the planet as colonies, and then the ship comes back to be used for another set. And of course, it takes I think it takes 80 to 90 years for these ships to get from Earth to their individual planets, and then it takes another 80-90 years to get back.
It's like along the lines of the Dune series.
Pretty much. So it takes a long time to get anywhere, but in the movie, Chris Pratt's character, there's a malfunction on the ship, and he wakes up
early.
He wakes up like 60 years early.
Oh.
So he's going to be alone on the ship. He's going to die on the ship before anyone else wakes up. Is the problem.
He's going to get old and die.
He's going to get old and die because he can't get back in the pod.
While everybody else is in a cryogenic state.
Right. So, and then he ends up becoming kind of creepy and like falling in love with Jennifer Lawrence's character because he's staring at her and she's sleeping in her pod. And they've never met they haven't met yet. And so he's like juggling with, do I wake her and have someone to talk to besides the AI computers? Who are, and actually get a whole Shining feel. Like the whole movie kind of plays off The Shining in a lot of ways like that.
Okay.
Because
his mental status just kind of crumbles
a little bit, and then it's like he's like, do I condemn another human being to die on the ship with me or not?
But see, now that's a cool idea because it's taking a technological advancement. Like at some point in our future, something like that's going to end up being reality. But then it's kind of injecting the human element into a technological situation.
And at the end of the day, I think that's where all of this is going. Is like, where do we fit it? Cause I think people are rushing just as fast as they can into technology, with, in my opinion, very little thought as to could you, and how will that change things? Scientists are, and I love them for this. It's how their minds work. They're more interested in, can I make this than should I make it, and how will it change the world? Yeah. I mean, they think how they change the world, but I don't think they really think about it. They think about it in terms that like,
this is my legacy.
This is my legacy. These are all the good that can come from it. But I don't think they take enough consideration is if they create it. Yeah, this might happen. This good thing over here, but this could also happen. And how will it affect with this technology? And there's just that unforeseen human element in any new technology. And I think that's something that I don't think we as a people think enough about. Mm-hmm. About, okay, that's great. We can create phones in our eyes, and we can, have super fast travel around the planet. These amazing, space trains, and we can have, all this technology everywhere. We can have AI computers that, basically take care of us, and like we'll literally put them in robots, and they'll take care of us, and everything will be great. We'll automate our factories so we can get things faster than ever. We'll have drones literally fly wine to my fat ass on a couch. We'll have cars that'll drive me pizza. These amazing things in technology, but we never stop and ask, is this the best for us? Are we, we're being the parent that's giving the child everything it wants with technology. We're not sitting there and like, we're literally the bad parent that's like, the kid whines for something, so here, have it.
But
Instead
again,
will it make you a better person by not having
that is the question that needs to be asked, because like I said, going back to what the population demands, what society demands, is that faster instant gratification that we're getting in smartphones, because now we can see our YouTube videos, our Instagram photos, our Facebook feeds, our Twitter feeds. We can do our texting, we can do our Skyping. If you're Apple people, you've got FaceTime, because they had to have a proprietary app just for that. And so if you take the time to look at the technology and say, what will this do? How will this change my life? What is the benefit? What is the consequence of me getting into this smartphone, getting into this piece of technology? If we were actually asking that question and then opening our eyes up and lending our voice to more advancements in technology that were actually beneficial to humankind, as opposed to making me giggle at cat videos on my couch waiting for my drone to come in with my box of wine, maybe then we could start seeing those advancements. Because to close this out more or less, within our lifetime, where do you see technology? Do we have the automated vehicles that are going to prevent us from having more accidents on the roads, in theory, dropping the number of drunk driving related crimes? Because what's the point in getting behind the wheel if you can basically tell your car to take you home and you just crawl and fall into the vehicle from the bar and it drives you home?
Considering and I don't know where it is, there's a city, one of these articles I was reading today for the show, by 2025 it'll be built and there will be no streetlights. They're building a city completely designed around the idea that everyone who lives there will have an automated car.
Really?
Yep, there's no streetlights. I think it'll be built by 2025, 2030.
So no sidewalks or what?
Well, there'll be sidewalks for people walking, but the streets themselves will have no lights because
no traffic lights. You're saying?
No traffic lights.
Oh, that changes things. I'm thinking no street lights.
No, sorry. Yeah. No.
Okay, so no traffic lights.
Yeah, no traffic lights whatsoever. It's built complete without it.
So guaranteed in our lifetimes we will see driverless cars as a mass consumer item.
The idea is 10% of the world population should be driving driverless cars by 2025.
See, and that's incredible.
That's the idea.
I want an automated Tesla.
Also, the idea is by 2030, 90 to 95% of the entire world population will have a supercomputer in their pocket.
Well, we're already kind of there. The smartphone that is sitting next to me right now probably has like 8 to 10 times, if not more, the computing power than what the technology they had to get us to the moon.
I think it's closer to 100 now.
Is it now 100?
It used to be that when cell phones were first made. Now it's closer to 100.
I ballparked it, and I was in the wrong city.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, your refrigerator has more technology in it than the spaceship that took people to the moon. That's not even kidding. He has a nice refrigerator.
It's solid.
It is. It's a solid refrigerator. You can touch it. It's real.
It's a tangible item. But so basically, we're going to see the automated cars. And at that point, you got to think about it. It's probably not even going to be fingerprints to get into it, because we're not going to need keys. It's going to be, retina scan, fingerprint scan. Otherwise, we'll have the RFID chip right in our wrist. So you just touch your wrist to the card, automatically unlocks it for you. You're going to have those verbal scans and everything like that so that it knows you. So that way nobody's going to be able to steal your car. Yeah. But so I see the computer chips in the skin being a regular thing. Not saying you and I will do it, but a lot of people are going to do it, especially in metro areas. Because you think about it, all your financial stuff is right there in your wrist. You're going through the subway, the L train in Chicago, anything like that. Scan your wrist. There you go. It deducts from your account. You hop on the train.
And we're not going to have to worry about people, having trouble with this, because they've officially said they figured out how to start mapping out and changing. They think they have it figured out genes before you're born. And they say by 2025, 2030, according to this list, it should be possible to change your child's genes to take out disease, to make them faster, make them stronger.
So there's still a eugenics program being researched, more or less?
Yeah.
It's a more sensible humanitarian approach at eugenics.
Right. So basically they said by 2030, you can have your kid, and you can, before they're born, you can fiddle with the DNA and make sure that they're, A number one grade, best all you can be.
Again, technology moving faster than legislation, because we're only going to be able to write the laws in hindsight on that
Yep.
kind of thing.
And actually, and on the same note with technology, I think it was just last week, the FDA gave approval to this new cancer fighting treatment using DNA manipulation
Wow.
of the person with the cancer
So
cells.
there's already more than one. Well,
There's a lot of labs working on it.
Wow.
And again, within the parameters that the government sets out ethically. But yeah, they're all working on it. So we're seeing to the point. So think of it. By the time you and I are old men sitting here on this podcast,
cancer, diabetes,
all of it will be gone. You'll have this is honest to God a list of all the technologies developed right now that are going to affect the way we look at world. So kind of a rundown
in our lifetime.
In our lifetime, you will see.
This would be a good closing statement, man.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
in our lifetime, you will see. By the time we're old, you will see the following for healthcare. You will see the ability to change the genetics of your children before they're born, removing genetic diseases. You will see 3D printed organs, which they're already doing, be perfected to the point where there is no such thing as a rejection of organ transplants. There's no such thing as an organ donation program because you can literally just build your own organs from your own cells. You will see nanobots, which they are in the testing phase of this with humans and will be approved long before we're old, that can be injected into a human being and will improve your healing factor, like Wolverine. So they will work with your white blood cells to destroy diseases in the body and help heal wounds and after surgery. So between removing the genetic disposition, between adding the 3D printed organs, and between adding the nanobots to our blood, on top of all the added technological advances you can have towards healthcare advances like, taking care of the elderly, improving your living environment, health, just general healthiness, and improving food quality and everything, you will see by the time we are old, the average lifespan they're projected will be 120 to 130.
Wow.
Because the human body, essentially, you get old and die because your body breaks down. With these technological advances, if you have the money to pay for it, you can literally just keep replacing organs other than the brain until you die. And they said the brain should last as long as you can remove those genetic dispositions from childhood. You should be able to last at least 130 with replacing your organs and using the nanobots.
Wow.
So
that's just the healthcare side of technological advancement. That's
just the healthcare side of the rundown. I mean, so all of you out there, you and I, we're, we if this is perfected, you and I, as long as we're wealthy, we should live well into our 90s easily, without any problem. But our children's children, they could see 150.
Wow.
So our great-grandkids could easily live to 150 years old and live on Mars. That is a real thing that can happen.
We could go in depth on individual topics with this. I mean, just on the healthcare side alone, because this in itself is a huge topic to tackle. If you're not opposed to it in future episodes, because you're going to be a recurring guest,
I would like to be, yes.
In future episodes, we should still have, at the very least, some segments about technological advancements.
That would be fun.
Because those tech articles are really damn good.
And they keep coming out.
And so, I mean, I appreciate you sitting down to talk to me about this, or talk with me, more or less. Because, like I was telling you before we hit record, my buddy Zach, who was on last week's episode, he and I worked at Verizon together. So, we got to play with the tech. We got to, stay ahead on the tech because in cellular sales, you had to keep up on the technology to know what was going on. Mm-hmm. If a phone was released this morning and I go to work, I have to already know as much as possible about that phone so I know how to sell it.
Right.
So we had to keep up on it, but I felt like Zach and I needed to go in a different direction and save the tech talk for you because the imagination, I know that you keep researched on tech articles, it ended up being, you were able to enlighten me on a lot of stuff where Zach and I would have probably agreed on it. And so, I mean, I love talking to Zach, love talking tech with you, and both of you guys will be recurring guests, but this just, to me, felt like a good episode. All right. We got to get more in depth with some of this because there are so many topics that we kind of glossed over that are fascinating.
So what you're saying is we have to do research.
What I'm telling all of you people out there now is that this is going to happen again. Research between me and Spencer on the technological advancement research and the future of humans with tech.
And in the meantime, go read Ready Player One.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read Ready Player One, but as always, love to have you on, my friend.
Love to be here. Thanks, Doug.
Remember, Spencer has his lovely blog, Bookbrain,
right.
WordPress.com/bookbrain. Check it out. It comes out every Friday evening. He's got a new post. Just finished up a couple weeks ago, the Flash Fiction Challenge #2. Fascinating story. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I know I shared it on the Facebook Rawcast page. As always, you can check us out on Rawcast AD. We have links to SoundCloud from Facebook. We're also on Twitter. Hit us up, share, leave a comment, like. If you had any discussion to add towards the technological discussion that Spencer and I had today, feel free to comment on SoundCloud, Facebook, or Twitter. But always, back to Spencer. Book Brain. Check it out. Short, sweet, every Friday. Makes me feel a little happier after reading his posts each week. And in the future, he will be on various topics, but we do want to continue the tech stuff because I love this man. So, buddy, you got to get going.
I do.
And I'm going to encourage every Rawcast listener out there, let's think about what's important. Use today to make your future, man. Let's do it up. Men and women, transgender, whatever you are, whoever you are. Because it's all people moving forward to the future. So let's focus on what's important as a people for these technological advancements, because I would love to set foot on Mars before I died.
That would be nice.
It would be nice. So with that, Rawcast, have a good one, my friends.